It's time for the All Things Strange podcast. We are your hosts, Agent ETA,
Agent Ether,
and Agent Anderson. Come along as we examine UFO sightings, conspiracies, and all things strange. You can check out all of our wonderful links in the description on the Linktree, where you can find our Patreon, our Discord, our merchandise, and more. This week's episode, Catalina Island UFOs. So it turns out Catalina Island is a UFO hotspot of UFO activity. As voted,
I actually didn't know this.
Yeah. As voted on by our Patreon subscribers, we've got 3 wonderful tiers for you. The first tier will get you after hours and early access. The next tier will get you bonus episodes. And finally, the last tier will get you the ability to vote on upcoming topics such as this one. Well, all right. Let's get right into it. Yeah, this is in Southern California, and, we'd see this island from the beach all the time, and we've been there a couple times. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't know it was a UFO hotspot either.
It's a cool spot in general, when I was younger, I've only been there once. And when I was younger, it was in middle school. We took like a class school trip to this like science lab kind of place, whatever. They studied like, stuff in the ocean and stuff, whatever. But I remember going scuba diving there and stuff, and learning a little bit about the history of the island, and I felt like it was a cool spot. I've known some other people that have gone there say it's kind of a tourist hotspot, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the background of Catalina Island, because most people are probably not familiar with it. It's just mostly people who live in Southern California are familiar with the area because it's, local area. So this is also known as Santa Catalina Island. That's the full name. Nobody calls it that. They either call it Catalina or Catalina Island. And It's part of the Channel Islands in the Pacific Ocean. It's about 29 miles southwest of Long Beach. And for people who live outside of California, everything there is just considered Los Angeles. So
yeah, pretty much.
It's, about 30 miles off of the coast. And it's in LA County, and it's big enough and close enough that you can see it from the shore. So if you go to Long Beach, you can actually just see it out there in the distance. It's a total of 75 square miles, 22 miles long, and 8 miles wide at its widest point, but it does not have a uniform thickness. It has a diverse landscape with hills and cliffs, and it has a mountain with a 2,097-foot high mountain peak that has very diverse ecosystems throughout the island, where you might have different types of terrain and different types of ecosystems, which, for such a small place, it's got quite the diversity going on for it. It's got very diverse animals.
You got some buffalo?
Yeah,
animals. What's up with those buffalo?
But that's not natural.
Are those native?
No, I'll get to those.
No, it was because it was because of a movie that was shot there. Right?
Oh.
Well, maybe, but they can't find the exact movie. We'll get to that in a minute.
Maybe the aliens put them there.
But there's a ton of
there's subterranean buffalo.
Yeah, there's a ton of different ecosystems there, which lend itself to study, and there are people that study the place, both on land and in the sea. It was first inhabited by various Native American people, such as the Tongva, and then it was claimed by the Spanish. And then it was owned by Mexico, and then finally the United States. Starting in the 1920s, it became a tourist destination. Avalon is the major city on the island where most people will go. There's a couple of other little, really small destinations, but most people who go there go to the city of Avalon. There's a regular ferry that goes to Avalon from Long Beach, and I think that goes there like multiple times a day. like maybe twice a day or something. I'd have to look up the schedule, but it's, runs all the time. There's a population of 4,201 people who live on the island permanently as of 2022, but about 1 million people visit the island every year. So a ton of tourism. I mean, 1 million people for such a tiny little place. And when you go into to Avalon, as you approach it, you can see the entire thing. It's not that big of a place. And the houses and everything, like everything's really, really small. Maybe we'll talk about our vacation there in the after hours or something. There's also a small airport, but it's for small planes like Cessnas and stuff. And there's no regular passenger flights, at least not right now. There was at one point, but no longer there is. About 90% of the island is owned by the Catalina Island Conservancy, and that's basically an organization that tries to conserve and repair the island and take care of the wildlife and all that stuff. So that's just a little brief background of the island. Of course, we could do multiple episodes. It has a very rich history, and we could spend many episodes talking about the history of the place. But of course, this is a show about UFOs and strange things.
I still want to know more about the animals.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So there's a couple of strange things that have happened there throughout the years. For example, Natalie Wood, who was a very famous actress back in the day, died while filming a movie. I mean, she wasn't currently filming. I guess she was there to film a movie. And she died while there under mysterious circumstances. She was on a boat with her husband, Robert Wagner, and Christopher Walken, the Emperor of Dune or whatever. ETA's got a pretty mean Christopher Walken impersonation, but
I don't know if I can't call it really good, but give me some more beers and some shots and stuff. Maybe I might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, well, you just start talking like Christopher Walken just by like default after a certain number of beers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
But they were on a boat, and she somehow died with strange bruises and scrapes, and nobody knows how she got from the boat to the water. Nobody's saying, nobody admitted anything as far as that goes. And it looks like she might have been thrown overboard, but we don't know for sure. It's a big mystery. That's like a whole other case file in and of itself. But that's one of the weird things that happened on the island or, in the waters directly surrounding it. And that was a really big deal back in the day. And actually, that case is still sort of open, and they're still sort of poking at Robert Wagner, trying to get something out of him. But they'll never catch him if it was him. Anyways, the bison herd is another major tourist attraction there. And you can see these just hiking around, or, they just kind of wander around the island. They're definitely...
I've seen them.
Yeah, they're not native to the island, and their origins are somewhat disputed. Some say that they were used in one of several films on the island. There's been a lot of films that have been filmed here because it's pretty close to Hollywood, and it was a very popular tourist destination for famous actors back in the day. I don't know if it still is, but it definitely was. Probably in the 40s and 50s, maybe even earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But so they filmed a couple dozen movies there, I think. But nobody's able to say exactly which movie the bison came from. But another theory suggests that a film company moved them there for future use, calling it a bison bank. They filmed a movie like in Yellowstone or something, and then when they were done, they moved the bison to the island, just sort of keep them there in case they needed them again in the future. And the herd flourished there.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, right?
Yeah, with a small island like that, you'd think a large animal like a bison would, have trouble flourishing there, but I guess they did. I mean,
yeah.
I remember, like I said, like that one school trip I took when I was in middle school, I remember them pointing them out on it's like a side of a hill or something like that on some spot where you could see them. I was like, oh shit, yeah, there's bison right there.
Just see them chilling. I remember we did a hike. I did that same thing that you did. So it was like a middle school thing. It was awesome. But yeah, you just see them. They're just out there. They just wander around doing their thing. So there's more to the island, but let's get to the UFOs. So I have a bunch of sightings I got from Newfork because I wanted stuff that was somewhat modern and also stuff that wasn't widely reported. I think that these sightings are very valuable. They're not big controversial sightings, but some of them are really, really good. But we can kind of switch off between sightings. Why don't I start with one? Then I'll switch off. I'll pass it off to you, Agent Ether.
Sounds good.
And we can kind of go around the table and talk about different events that have happened on the island. All right. So this one is from September 22nd. No, is that September? No, that's June. Got my numbers mixed up.
Wow.
June 22nd, 2009 at 2100 local time. This one lasted about 5 minutes and there were 3 observers. It happened specifically in Emerald Bay on Catalina Island. The object they saw was circular in shape and it had lights on it, and there was an aura or haze around the object, and it appeared to have electrical or magnetic effects. And here's the witness's description. A UFO was going around the sky when a USO watched us. I think they mean UFO, watched us for a couple of minutes. An object over Indian Rock moved at an unnatural speed back and forth for 3 minutes. Then it blinked out. A few seconds later, it appeared underwater.
That's why they say USO.
Yeah, I guess so. A circle of blue light near a cliff and watched us for a couple of minutes and then streaked off underwater. The dates could be a little off when I went, but I was with Troop 537 on Catalina Island, Camp Emerald Bay. So that's a pretty weird one. There are a lot of USO reports here. Just, the way they described that was a little confusing. But all right, so that's my first one.
For the listeners, in case they're not, because not everybody is familiar with the term UFO as opposed to USO. So USO is unidentified submerged object, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't very familiar with this too. When I, until recently, I was like, damn, there's a lot of this. There's just as much of this in that area going on as there is stuff in the sky.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. All right, let's pass it off. What you got, Agent Ether? You want to give us something?
Well, I don't know. Why don't you send Agent ETA the videos so we can all review the same thing? Do you have the video?
I don't really have a link open or anything, but
if you go to YouTube.
Is that video from was it 1966 or something? It's 1966. Is that the one where it's kind of grainy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a little grainy, but you see an object. It's like metallic and silver. To me, it looks kind of like a tic tac, and it's moving from the left to the right.
Yeah, I think I already have this video already up here.
Oh, nice.
It says Catalina Island UFO USO. That's a documentary. Never mind. That's not the video. That's not the video. That's way too long to be that video. No, I definitely have seen that video.
It. Though. Well, because it's a famous video. It's one of the best and clearest videos taken of a UFO ever. And
well, there's a couple I've seen that are clear, but this is right up there.
It's good. It's good. I hadn't seen it before, and I guess it was taken on April 15th, 1966 in the morning. The time was 9:45 a.m., and it was a U.S. Coastal Guard, a professional photographer, and he was asked by the U.S. Navy to help film Catalina Island. I couldn't find out why, but he was working for the military, filming from a helicopter, and his name was Leland Hansen.
It could have just been like a survey.
Yeah.
They did use, they used Catalina Island as like a military training facility during World War II. So who knows, maybe they're always looking for whatever nooks and crannies are available to them if they need to hide a submarine or whatever.
Hide a submarine.
Just, they're just looking at the terrain just to see what's there maybe. I don't know.
Mr. Hansen describes it as a clear day and goes on to say that the object is silver with a shadow underneath as though metallic and about 20 meters across. There was actually not a lot of information available online for this older case, which really surprised me. Apparently, there were a lot of documentaries that were done like in the 70s and 80s about this specific case, but those were like on TV, on VHS, and so they're not readily available on things like YouTube, which is unfortunate. But I did find a reference on Reddit by a poster, Spook Skywatcher, who discussed what he was seeing.
I like that name.
You like that? Spook Skywatcher.
Isn't like a deep state agent kind of a thing? That's what they call them, spooks, right?
Yeah. And he described this one of the documentaries in detail that he remembered seeing. So it's kind of a secondhand account of a documentary, but the way he wrote it was very specific and detailed, and it didn't sound like it was made up, if that makes sense. So he said that in one of these documentaries, Lee Hansen spoke anonymously to a San Diego Union writer, science writer, Cliff Smite, and said he shot it on a 16 millimeter Ektachrome from a chartered Bell helicopter using an Aeroflex camera with 12.5 millimeter to 129 millimeter zoom lens. So that is so specific that it makes me feel that this post has some credibility.
Maybe. On the other hand, it wouldn't be that hard to look up what sort of cameras they would have been using at the time if you wanted to hoax something yourself.
I guess, but the whole post is very specific. It talks about the helicopter flying west by southwest course, and that the photographer had already been filming Hansen for several minutes before he saw something off in the distance that looked like a weather balloon tethered to the coast of the island. But later he would suspect that it was actually an object coming towards him, so it looked like a balloon. He estimated the speed was 150 miles per hour at an altitude of 1,000 feet above sea level. Now, the actual clip is pretty short, and if you look on it on like YouTube, it's recycled. It's repeating.
Yeah.
It's a repeated clip.
It's also very, very grainy and bad.
But it's also short.
Yeah.
So was that the only film available?
Right.
Where's the rest of it, right? We often have this question, where's the rest of this?
Right. It's exactly like the Tic Tac sighting. Where's the rest of the footage? Why release just this one clip?
How can you analyze something
small.
yourself personally
Yeah.
if there's only a 15-second clip?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you gotta have the whole entirety of the footage to really have a good idea of like what you're actually looking at instead of like a small, short clip.
right.
Now, where this is coming from, this information is from Sir Arthur Clarke's Mysterious World, which is a series of documentaries. And it includes an interview with Arnold Palmer in one of the documentaries. And also
The golfer?
No, Arnold. No, I must have written that down.
You mean Kenneth Arnold?
Oh my God. It's hysterical.
What?
I think I've done this before. This is not the first time I've done this where I'm just like typing. I'm like, dude, Kenneth Arnold.
Yes.
And also Leyland.
Yeah.
So he had this whole series. Sir Arthur Clarke is a sci-fi writer, undersea explorer. He's famous for 2001 Space Odyssey. It got adapted to film, and he was very interested in space travel and UFOs. And so he had this series, which, looked at different phenomena here on the planet, including UFOs. So there's an interview with Clarke, and he talks about Catalina Island and the cameraman Lee Hansen. And he says he has the film analyzed by JPL Labs in Pasadena by Dr. Robert Nathan, who says in the end, the blurry UFO is actually an aircraft. So a Piper Cub type aircraft. And Clarke decided that there was no need for any further explanation. We can never be sure exactly what they are, and even if it's a visitor from outer space, we couldn't prove it. And get this, for this reason, I'm no longer interested in UFO sightings.
That's kind of weird.
This is the case that broke the camel's back.
Well, there have been a large number of celebrities and personalities that have done a 180. Most famously, Carl Sagan did a 180, and there's been a couple more, but there is the conspiracy that the government gets to them one way or another, maybe pays them off, maybe asks them nicely, but says, hey,
maybe not so nicely.
Yeah, say, hey, you're in the public realm, don't talk about this anymore. I haven't seen proof of that, but I haven't really dug all that deep. But anyways, that's one of the ideas that's out there.
There is not a need to look for further explanation, like ever, about anything.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that. That's very suspicious. Like, if you're watching for Bigfoots and you see a Bigfoot video and it ends up being a guy in a suit, that doesn't disprove all of the Bigfoot sightings, just that one.
Well, and I'm not even sure about this, analysis that was done. Like, how was it determined?
How is it enhanced? Because there's no way to enhance a video to get more detail out of it than what's already there.
Right.
I found in a UFO book, I did a search and I found in a UFO book a little blurb that said pretty much the same thing. It said they were able to analyze it, and they were able to see that not only was it an airplane, but they could also see the guy in the cockpit. I'm like, I just don't buy it. I don't believe that one bit. I think that's some misinformation somehow.
Well, here, and you have someone who's a member of the U.S. Coast Guard, who's a professional photographer, and he saw something unique. He's a trained observer, and he said, here's something unique, and it's worth documenting.
Right. Yeah.
So what was that thing? Was it really a hoax?
You're telling me somebody in a helicopter with experience like that is going to be fooled by a Piper Cub? I don't think so.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It is a weird one for sure. And the video is compelling. I mean, it does legit look like a flying saucer if you can find a good version of the video. There's some out there that are so crappy you can't even tell what's going on. But there are some good ones too. Does not look like a Piper Cub at all. Like it looks like a cigar shaped or a flying saucer viewed on edge, basically. I mean, that's what it looks like.
And I read somewhere it didn't have any sound.
Mm-hmm.
So no tail, no means of propulsion, no sound. Doesn't sound like a plane to me.
Right. Well, let's move on to some New Fork UFO sightings then. Here's another one from August 22nd, 2016. I mean, that's not that long ago. That's pretty recent. This one lasted a total of 3 hours. And there were 2 observers. And this one was observed from Avalon. It said that there were lights on the object and that it emitted beams, changed color, and that there were nearby aircraft and that the object landed.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's read their description here. My friend and I went out to the pier to fish because it wouldn't be crowded with tourists. My friend and I are the only ones out on the pier. We were fishing for about 15 minutes when my friend told me to look at the top of the hill. We saw a light and then it began to flicker and it slowly went vertical. The object then went from that side of the mountain all the way over to the opposite side of the island. There were multiple flat objects using green lights, red lights, and white lights. There was no possible way a drone or plane could have been in and out of such altitudes with such speeds. I took multiple videos and pictures. We are not making this up. Please contact me as soon as possible so I can send out the pictures. We witnessed 3 flat, incredibly versatile objects in the sky forming an acute triangle. Also, light patterns were very odd and uncommon. This was not a typical plane coming in. I contacted my dad while I was watching this entire thing, and he gave me the link to contact you. My friend and I are freaking out on the pier looking for anybody, So we decided to leave the pier and head back to our condo and watch on the balcony. On the balcony, we had the best view to witness these absurdly agile non-commercial crafts or saucers, or whatever the proper term is. Our families go to Catalina Island every year, and this island is a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. Ooh. It is commonly known to have naval activity and military activity behind Avalon, the main city. These crafts had the ability to go vertical within a second and reach speeds I have never seen. There was not just one of these, we saw around 4 to 5 of these on our balcony. These crafts began circling each other in the air, and 2 crafts continuously came at each other from the opposite sides of the island, and right when it looks like they are about to hit, they stop immediately and begin flying synchronized. Feel free to give me a call so I can chronologically explain the story. And just a note, there is no media available for this sighting, unfortunately.
Of course not.
So whatever reason, nobody ever followed up with this witness, unfortunately.
So it's just a post on the website?
Yep, just a post on New Fork.
Okay, all right.
Pretty wild story though, right?
It's a shame no one followed up.
Yeah, I would love to see those videos and photographs of that object. Some of the cases on New Fork do have media to go along with them, and the vast majority of those look a little suspicious, but you never know. Just checking to make sure we're actually recording. Just feeling a little paranoid now. All right. Do you want me to do maybe one more and then switch off to you?
Yeah,
okay.
do one more.
So this one happened on March 1st, 2004. Same year is one of, the Nimitz Tic Tac sighting, actually, at 1900 hours. Lasted for about 5 minutes, and there were 3 observers, once again, from Avalon. The shape of the object was oval, and it had lights on it. It changed colors, and there were aircraft nearby. The description is round, tall craft over Catalina Island, 2 teardrop black crafts interweaving with one another at low altitude. We were coming home after a fishing trip to Catalina Island on the backside of the island. It was getting dark, so we decided to head home. We were on a 22-foot center console fishing boat. As we turned to the east side, I'm guessing it's supposed to be, to the east side of the island and started heading toward the Angeles Gate in LA Harbor, I looked to the west and noticed a circular craft in the air at approximately 5,000 feet to the north side of the island, which is actually the front side. I guess islands have front sides and back sides. I have been very interested in the UFO phenomenon for 15 years now and have spoken to people concerning the subject. However, I never had a sighting. That is why when I looked up at the object in the sky, I kind of questioned it immediately. It was circular but taller. It had extremely bright lights around and on top of it. I watched the object while I held on to the boat as we were coming in, approximately 14 knots. It seemed to hover, moving eastward, moving along the front side of the island. I'm guessing the front side is the shore-facing part. I couldn't believe that what I saw in the air was not a craft that I could describe. My brother is a private pilot, and we have no problem identifying airplanes and blimps. The Goodyear blimp right down the street. Yeah, in Southern California, I don't know if you still do, but you used to see the Goodyear blimp fairly often. I'm a space enthusiast as well, so when this object appeared, I was downright perplexed, spelled Purplexed, so perplexed. He was perplexed. What the hell is that? I said to myself. As I said, in the duration, I watched the object for a few minutes and then said to the captain and my brother, who were also on the boat, "Hey, look at that." Immediately, the captain said, "Looks like a UFO." I almost fell out because he shared the same interpretation as I did, without me bringing up the UFO possibility. He was driving the boat, and it was getting dark, so His immediate focus was keeping the boat safe. Nevertheless, I kept watching the craft. Before I knew it, the craft shot straight up into the sky extremely fast. Fast in all caps, and then disappeared. I have never seen anything like this before. If this was a real sighting, I saw what everyone is talking about. Please understand this is not a hoax. I would never spend my time like this over something that did not happen. I just saw a report of the Mexican 11 UFOs all over the news, and it inspired me to report this. I wonder if the Mexican 11 UFOs, that might be a case where there was multiple UFOs seen in the distance from an airplane, and it turned out to be, I think, fires on oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico or something. I don't know if that's what he's referring to or not, but that was a pretty big story at one point. All right, Agent Ether.
From the files of Project Blue Book.
Oh, you found one. Awesome.
So this is April 28th, 1949. I was going to say 1849. 1949, redacted from Boise, Idaho, a civilian was visiting Catalina Island when he reported the following. About 8 o'clock on the night of April 28th, my wife and a school teacher saw six objects in the sky, not in a group, but singly. A few minutes later, after going to my daughter's home on the next street and corresponding block, she and my daughter and my grandson saw 4 more, all traveling in the same direction. If you are still interested in flying saucers, etc., please let me know and I will write more in full. That is all that is available.
I remember seeing that. I was going through the Black Vault there trying to find Catalina, like UFO experiences and stuff, and popped up on that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't investigate any further and just deemed it insufficient data for evaluation.
That's pretty typical of the Blue Book files, yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
Well, it's a short little blurb, but it's an interesting sighting.
Yes, but according to the Catalina Islander, which is a local newspaper, there was a similar sighting 2 years earlier, but it wasn't in the Blue Book database and it wasn't investigated by the Air Force, even though it made the front page.
Interesting.
It was July 8th, 1947. It was a bright, clear day, and several people witnessed flying discs over the main city, Avalon, disappearing into the Pacific Ocean. And this was the exact same day that there was the flying saucer crash at Roswell in New Mexico.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it featured it on the front page, like I said, and some of the eyewitnesses were Air Force veterans and they had been in the war, so they knew how to identify different aircraft. They'd flown bombing missions over Germany.
Didn't one of them had spent like he had flown over like 35 bombing missions over Germany, right?
Yes. And these were reputable witnesses who were seeing this sighting of UFOs. So those are 2 different cases. One was a Blue Book case and one was a similar sighting 2 years previous that was not investigated.
They flew right into the ocean. Is that what it said?
They flew into the distance over the ocean.
Oh, over the ocean. Okay.
Until they disappeared from sight.
Okay, little less exciting, but still pretty cool.
So that's it for that case.
All right, should I do another one?
Sure.
Okay. We have another one here that happened on July 23rd, 2002. This one lasted about 3 minutes, and it says number of observers 0. I'm guessing that's a typo.
What?
Once again,
what?
Yeah, I know, right? Once again from Avalon, the shape was a formation and the object had lights on it. It was a triangle-shaped light formation seen over Catalina Island by many people. I was at a summer camp on Catalina Island, California at Toyon Bay near Avalon. I was walking away from the beach at night in a crowd of maybe 40 people. Above us, we saw a triangle formation of lights, kind of like how geese fly in formation. There was a very bright white light in front with red lights trailing it. Well, geese definitely don't do that. There were many witnesses, but I could not take a picture. The entire formation was several times larger than the moon, which was full or close to full, and it was moving very slowly across the sky. The lights did not flash. As the formation got about halfway across the sky, a very, very low, quiet engine sound became audible. It was like a very, very far away jet, but the sound was flat. It really freaked me out. I thought it could be a stealth bomber or a high-up formation of military jets, but the lights did not blink or flash, and they stayed in perfect formation. I have no idea what it was. It was flying from the northwest toward Avalon. So that's like a pretty cool description. It's a triangle-shaped object, kind of like reminiscent of the Phoenix Lights, perhaps, something like that. And it's interesting that there was a full moon out, because that would make objects more lit up if it was like a flock of birds or something. But obviously this does not sound like a flock of birds. I don't know. It's a strange one, and I'm not sure what to make of it. All right. What you got for us, Agent Ether?
I just have one more thing.
All right, let's do it.
And it's very brief. Well, apparently there's a lot of USO activity in this area, specifically between Long Beach and Catalina Island.
Mm-hmm.
And retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and oceanographer Timothy Gallaudet says there's a geological anomaly along the floor near Catalina Island that he thinks is evidence of UAP interaction with the seafloor or of an underwater base.
Yeah. Weird.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I find that really interesting because I've heard this notion being described quite a few times throughout the little bit of research that I did. That, like, this area, there's so many crafts that, or unidentified, submersibles that have gone noticed that have came out of the sea. And the sea isn't like the deepest thing ever there in that, for the Pacific Ocean and what have you, but it seems like there's a lot of people that have witnessed craft coming out of the sea, not just like in the air, like we had mentioned before.
Yeah.
So Gallaudet actually, after serving 32 years in the Navy, was an assistant secretary of commerce for oceans and atmospheres. And that was for a few years. And he actually is a CEO of a ocean consulting group. And he spoke to a podcast about having given an undersea explorer, Victor Vescovo, the coordinates of a feature on the seabed between Catalina Island and Long Beach that he thought was unusual, that appeared on data sets.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some sonar system that it installed on a research ship. So he has his own research ship, and he detailed this sonar survey on the seaboard.
So they're talking about like the topography of the ocean floor there? And
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've heard that before.
Yeah, he describes it specifically. It's very superficial, and it looks like there's like this underwater avalanche. I don't know. He describes it scientifically, but it sounds like something only an oceanographer might understand. I didn't quite understand what he meant.
Using special terminologies.
Yeah, he was talking about like a turbidity flow and like sediment current. And I'm like, I don't know what this means.
So like what they're seeing on the floor there didn't necessarily make sense to them? Like this could be an anomaly of sorts?
Yeah. So he says it does cause him to speculate, is there evidence of activity on the seafloor? And why? Why is this anomaly occurring? So he wants to explore it further. He won't, however, tell anybody the exact coordinates.
Well, of course not.
He's keeping it on the DL while he go ahead and does his research.
Well, if there's truly something anomalous there and somebody was motivated, I'm sure they could find it.
So the most recent article I found was late 2023.
Okay.
So it hasn't been that much longer. So
it's still ongoing then.
It is. My understanding is it's ongoing. Yeah.
Nice. Well, hey, maybe they'll discover like, a portal to another dimension or
Maybe.
something. Who knows?
Oh boy.
You never know what they're going to find. All right. Was that your last one, Agent Ether?
Yes.
All right. Well, I got a couple more here from New Fork. The next one I have occurred on, let's see here, July again, July 23rd, 2002. Oh, wait, look at this. I think this is a different witness for the same sighting. So July 23rd, 2002, number of observers, 5, 30 seconds, Avalon, triangle-shaped lights on the object. So this is the same day. I was on vacation. Let's see, past 10:15. When did this last one happen? Yeah, this last one was 10:30. Those are two different reports of the same thing. I was on vacation on the island of Catalina, staying in the city of Avalon toward the back of the town in a condo unit that my family have rented each year during the last month of July to take part in a 60-mile running event called the Tour de Catalina for the past 9 years. Our unit is way in the back on the side of a big hill. It is much darker than most parts of town due to very little light. On Tuesday, July 23rd, just past 10:15 p.m., on a very big deck area, the kids are out in a group were making their bedding for the night when one of the girls yelled, "Look, a UFO!" With her on the deck are two other 18-year-old girls. This girl is 14 years old. Her father and me step outside and look to what seems like the southwest to see a flying triangle with very bright red lights covering all parts of the outside of this flying V, with white lights just to the inside of the red lights. The wing size was big, very big, being a runner, I think, in terms of how far to go. This was how big, maybe 300 yards to a quarter mile each part of the two wings that made up the V or triangle. That is huge. A quarter mile on each wing. That's insane. And the center was a bright white circle. It made no sound. It looked to move very slowly, passing to the very dark side of the island and into open ocean area for the next 2,000 miles or more. I went to the local police department the next day, but there was no reports of what we saw. One of the members of my group told a friend who told him that in Arizona in 1998, this same shape was seen in the skies. If they're talking about the Phoenix Lights, that was in 97, so they might be mistaken, or maybe there was a different event that I'm not aware of that happened in 98. I don't know. All right, and we have another report of the same sighting, which is really cool. So now we have 3 different witnesses all reporting the same object. That is what you want. You want independent witnesses. Pretty cool stuff. All right, this one, once again, it says 5 observers, so maybe it was part of the same group. Let's see, triangle, lights on object, very, very big slow-flying triangle with flashing red lights covering the outside edge of each of the 2 wings that made up the triangle. No LE on that one. Let's see. At the time that I reported seeing a slow-flying triangle, I did not check your listings of other reports for 723, and in the days that followed, I now count 12 reports as of today, which is 8402, of people seeing the same flying object in the sky that night. Interestingly enough, these are the only 3 on there. I did not see 12 reports. In fact, there aren't even 12 reports on New Fork for Avalon. So maybe it's divided between the 2 areas, but still, I didn't see 12 reports. They're gone. I don't know where they're at, but they ain't here. Let's see. 12 reports of people seeing the same flying object in the sky that night. It was about 10:30 p.m. when one of our kids in our group were out on our deck of our vacation condo in the back part of Avalon on Catalina Island. I was inside my bedroom when I heard one of the 3 girls on the deck yell, "Look, a UFO." As I walked out onto our deck, I looked to the south and saw a very, very large, slow-moving V, and the outside of each of the 2 wings are flashing red lights. Just to the inside of that edge of lights, I see white lights all very close together, and again flashing. It seemed to have a few circles of lights that were in the center that were rotating in white. We were on the side of a very steep set of hills that reaches 1,600 feet to the southwest of us, so inside of 30 seconds we lost sight of this flying triangle with the hills blocking our view. The next day I went to the local police station in Avalon, and they had no reports of this object seen on 723. Being told that they had no reports, the members of my running club had fun the next day on the beach and making all the jokes about what I reported seeing. I am thankful to one of our members who told me to go online and see what I could find. With the reports for 723, oh, here we go. Maybe this is what they're talking about. Starting London, England, occurred time at 0:15 to reports from Sequoia National Park, from the Techapi Mountains to Valencia, California, to the San Fernando Valley to West Hills, Reseda, Santa Monica to Marina del Rey into the flight, take runway at LAX for all who would say that it was one of ours being tested. Think that our government would get near LAX after all the problems that took place on 7/4 to 2 reports on Catalina Island, seeing it slowly fly into the open for the next few thousand miles of open dark skies. Apologies for the wording. This is just how they wrote it. I cannot help but wonder what would it look like in the daylight. It took my breath away, and thinking what we all saw that night must be parked someplace in the daylight. What a thought for all you who saw it. Thanks to all you for your reports. They helped me get through this. So yeah, apparently this item was seen around the world. That would be
a wide area. That's a very wide area to to have the same object be observed.
That's I'm gonna make a note here to look for this one because there's so many reports from Catalina. I think I'm gonna do a Catalina supplemental for the bonus episode this week, and it would be really easy to just filter out for this date on New Fork and see what other sightings there were. I mean, if this was a global sighting, that's pretty awesome. I haven't heard of this one before.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's up, Agent Ether?
Well, I have one, just a small, brief.
Okay, let's hear it.
One. Well, there's not much to it. Have you heard of Noah Felice?
Noah Felice.
So he's the pilot who claimed that a USO shot a beam of light out into his plane.
Oh, right.
Causing it to crash, and his cousin died, and he was injured.
Yes.
So you have heard of this?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And I wanted to find more information about this case because it's fascinating. And you're like, well, that's really interesting. And we've been talking about the underwater bases and everything. So I went online for a while trying to find stuff. And instead, what keeps popping up is basically that this person was arrested in Fayetteville because he was trying to renew his FAA license and like lying about his criminal background. But you know how they want to have like these headline grabbers? Yeah. So it's like, man who claims he was saved by aliens, former pilot, now is arrested and gets jail time for lying. So I can't find anything about this story.
When he got hit that beam, he got hit by a beam of light from a craft that was on the ocean surface there. And it like blinded him or whatever. And like he claims that like he was dead for some amount of time. Like it was like 15 to 20 minutes or something like that. And I mean, there was the History Channel special that covered this, right?
Oh, of course there was.
Of course there was, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he claims that he thinks that he got saved by these aliens.
Oh, I see.
Shot him down from the sky.
They're like, oops, sorry.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if they shot a beam of light at your plane that caused you to crash, why would they save you?
Well, they pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, whoops daisy. Whoops a daisy. That was the wrong button. Oh shit. Well, we better save this guy.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
doesn't make too much sense to me, but whatever.
It's just irksome because we were just talking about dead internet theory.
Yeah.
And like, I can't find the information I want. I was very specific when I was looking in these search engines about what I wanted to find. But no, it just kept popping up that this poor person had been arrested.
Yeah. We can't find anything on search engines anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like you used to be in the early days, you know, even in 2000s and whatever, you search for something, you find it. Like you can't find stuff anymore. It's wild.
Yeah.
So-
Sometimes even if you use like a go-go duck and stuff, like it's still like not necessarily conclusive, like what you're
yeah.
searching for, you know?
Well, and certain things like you used to be able to use search operators, I think they call them, like for example, a minus sign in front of somebody and something. So if you're, I don't know, if you're searching for something and you keep getting wrong results that include a word that you don't want to search for, you can just put a minus sign in front of it and it'll exclude results with that minus sign. That doesn't seem to work anymore at all, like ever. It just doesn't flat out does not work.
Really?
I've tried that many times and it's super useful when you're searching for something because all the time you'll get unrelated results that you can easily filter out with a minus sign, but it just doesn't work anymore. It's weird. I don't know. All right. Is that all you had on that one, Agent Ether?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did see that one mentioned. That was in one of those articles, but I didn't take notes on it or anything. All right. Why don't I do one more from New Fork and then we'll wrap it up. I got a bunch more of these. I'm definitely going to do a supplemental on this one because, you know, there's so many sightings from Catalina Island that, you know, we need another episode on it, I guess. So
Yeah, I didn't realize like before like I didn't realize that this was such a hot spot. You know, but it turns out it definitely is.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Well, I guess I am and am not surprised. I mean, it's not as remote as some places, but people go there to vacation. There's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know, one thing to do is to look up into the skies.
Right. There's not a lot to do there. So maybe we'll talk about that in the after hours because we did go there one weekend on vacation. But all right.
I still want to hear about that vacation.
Yeah. So one last one here for you. This one happened on April 6th, 2023. So this is a very recent sighting. 3 seconds, 2 observers.
3-second observation?
Yeah, that's what it says. This one was just east of Catalina Island, and they were flying in a Southwest Flight 2032. They had just passed to the left of Catalina Island, 3 to 5 miles east. Shape, other. Explanation, drone possible. Characteristics that had a light on the object, aura or haze around the object, and it emitted other objects. That sounds like a drone, sure. Small orb with satellite-like appendages, skinny barbs. That's a summary type stuff. Let's get into the sighting. Flying in Southwest Flight 2032 from Sacramento to OC John Wayne Airport, we had just passed by Catalina Island, had a beautiful clear views for miles, and have been enjoying the view. As we moved past the island, I sat back in my seat on the right side of the aircraft and looked out of the window toward the wing. I was in about the 5th row from the back. I saw a light emerge below the wing out about 200 yards. I focused in on it as we passed by it. I could see metallic spike antenna-like things sticking out of it, and it had white lights on it. The light was, best guess, 1 to 3 tic-tac shape, and the 4+ spikes seemed to be about 6 to 7 times longer. It moved from my left to right, and I couldn't recognize as anything I had seen before. I am a RPIC pilot, but the antennas on top, one set at 20 and 60 degrees. I didn't have time to really look down as we passed in around 3 seconds or less. Immediately, I asked the guy sitting in front of me who I could tell had been looking outside, and he confirmed. He first said light and then maybe drone, and he wanted to explain it away, but all the other planes, ships, etc. were very clear and hard to mistake. He was guessing why it was so close. I have been taking photos but had just put my phone away. Super clear, calm, still ocean below. So that's a pretty weird sighting. Who knows what that... I mean, it could be a drone, I guess. Could be anything. It's definitely a weird one, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's end the episode here. That's all we got for you guys this time. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can help us out by leaving us a good review. If this is on YouTube or wherever, hit the thumbs up and all that good stuff. And until next time,
Keep it strange.